and a brand new game here at Vibe Tribe Productions. I am your Dungeon Master, Riku, also go by Chris, and welcome to the Crystal City. This is a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition podcast that is using... You know what? I'll get into a little bit more about the explanation a little later once we introduce everybody. But I'm so excited to bring you this new campaign. You can follow me on social media as Pup Riku or Puppy Riku. It all depends on what app you're using. You can also find me on various other shows here on the Vibe Tribe. Check out back in Season 1 with Friday Night Fights and Furusato, as well as our current season here as your Dungeon Master on the Academy, as well as on a few other shows like Tavern Tales, A Walk Among Gods, and Brave New Wild. I don't know why that one always trips me up. I don't know why. But anywho, but this game can't be done without my players. So let's go ahead and introduce our players, starting with the one, the only, the chaotic, at least in my opinion, Kilt. I love that you knew exactly how I was going to call you out.
Yes. I was like, I'm sitting here looking off to the side. I'm like, oh, don't choose me first. Don't choose me first. I'm still editing. Okay, hello, everyone. And I, of course, are we doing character introductions or are we wait till later for that? I just want to...
We're gonna wait till characters after we give the introductions.
Cool. I am Kiltman42. I'm one of the executive members here at Vibe Tribe Productions. And
hey, Kilt, where else can we find you?
That's basically it. I'm on TikTok, maybe. I'm on Twitter, I think.
You're also in another game.
Oh, that's right. I am also in another game.
You can tell we're a bunch of professionals.
This is good.
We just did this yesterday!
And see, in all honesty, I forget that I'm on multiple shows because I'm so used to only being on one and then disappearing. So, yes, I'm also on a walk. I'm currently on a Walk Amongst Gods with Minnie, and as well as also Mikey and my favorite, our current storyteller. Over there, I play the Port Master, Michael Portsmouth.
Awesome. All right, and next up, we have the mad lad himself, Mikey.
I am very mad. It is going to be a great time. But hello, everyone. This is Mikey, the founder of the Vibe Tribe. I'm excited because I'm in the player's seat for this one, but you can follow me all over the social medias at Pop Culture Geek, as well as all of us collectively on Vibe Tribe Productions. Make sure to give a like and a follow because you're going to want to stay up to date with everything that we got going on. Because boy, howdy, it is a lot. But as I said, I am the mad lad that runs everything from behind the scenes. I'm the one that founded this little organization. But I'm really excited because now I just get to be chaotic as all in this as a player. So this is going to be a good time. And you can find me running up too many games, playing in a couple as well. Too many to name at this point. But look on our website. You'll find me.
Ooh. Yes, the new website, which is still... When we're recording this... As of this recording... is still in development, but I will say this for when this opens, and this is giving myself a goal. By the time you are hearing this, the website will be up and ready. I am giving myself that goal, because that will pressure me into finishing it. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we have Dakota.
Hey, I am Dakota, or Shiro. I'm also a member of the executive team here at Vibe Tribe. You can find me playing in the Academy, as well as Call of the Deep for our previous games that are continuing. And in this new season, you can find me here, as well as on Duskvale and Tavern Tales.
Wonderful, wonderful. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, yes, if you're listening to us, we're also on YouTube now. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, Dakota is also our lovely editor for this game.
Which means it's my fault.
Which means it's his fault. You better make me look good. I want to review this before it goes out.
Oh, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna give you a bigger mustache. Like mustache. It'll be great.
Oh,
I regret nothing.
Oh, lordy. And finally, we have one of my favorite players that I get to play with on the Academy, Chris.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just all kinds of craziness coming up in this new season. I'm not from Chris. We duplicate names. It always causes confusion. But I am slowly gaining, I don't know, cred in this tabletop gaming world. Trying to anyway. But look, it's a great group. It's always fun. It's always entertaining. So just sit back and enjoy, and it's going to be a blast.
Hell yeah. All right. So those are just 4 of our players. We do have 2 other players who unfortunately could not be here tonight. But with the power of editing, you'll be able to meet them shortly after you meet these 4. Let's get right down into exactly what is the Crystal City. For those of you who are fans of Dungeons & Dragons and a lot of the different adventures and source books that they put out, the Crystal City is based on Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel. It's one of my favorite source books that are out there with a lot of great adventures. And when concepting what I wanted to do for this season, I decided to take the adventures of the Radiant Citadel and turn it into a full campaign. So this will have an overarching story with it, connecting all of these grand adventures that our players will be going on. But as for the Crystal City itself, the Crystal City is a place of legend. From all across the multiverse, all across these different universes and worlds, the Crystal City is the one thing that seems to bind them all together. Whether you think it's a fairy tale, an urban myth, or one of the lucky adventurers who happen to come across it, Crystal City is the crossroads of the worlds. It is a vibrant city full of festivals, energy, people from all different walks of life coming together into one place. People come and go from their own adventures, while there are people who live in the Crystal City. That is the one thing that many of the stories of the Crystal City don't tell. How do people become residents of the Crystal City? Because multiple adventurers have traveled through and were denied many times. So even though there's a lot of people who live there, it's still a mystery of why and how. So this story will bring together a group of adventurers to the Crystal City and get to see all of its wonders and where it could lead throughout these universes. Now, in talking to the cast, I have told them, as they are thinking about their characters, to also think about the world that they are from. The biggest thing is that all 6 of our players will be coming from different worlds, different universes, unknown to each other, unknown cultures, names, what have you. So while you introduce yourself, I don't need to fully flesh out now. I do need it more fleshed out for session 1. But if you have an idea of where you want to go with the world that you're in, feel free to talk about that as well. To get us started to learn about our crazy cast of characters who will be adventuring through, let's go ahead and go in reverse order this time. Sutphin, why don't you go ahead and introduce your character first and where they're from, who they are, and what should we be expecting?
Very original name I came up with. Playing a dwarven fighter named Steve. I mean, my brain, that wasn't working very well when I came up with it, obviously. And it follows I think the idea of where I'm building out his character. He's nothing, I would say maybe an everyman or every dwarf kind of thing. Just very, I'm not going to say very down to earth because that's a little too much. But yeah, I mean, that does fit actually. I would go along with your friend's champion kind of thing. Where he's there to support you, he's there to do whatever, and that kind of follows along with his background. Nothing really stellar, nothing really stands out, and I've just gone blank. So completely forgot the train of thought that was going on.
All good. We definitely have plenty of time to.
Yeah, it'll come. It'll jump back to me.
Yeah. So a couple questions, and this is something that everyone else can also start thinking about. And if you might not have a full answer right now, of course, but something to think about with your character, and I'd be interested if you knew. Does Steve have any sort of grand ambition or some sort of dream they wish to achieve in their world?
I would think that's like specifically if you were to say one actual dream, goal, nothing really, just wants to help people.
Okay.
In whatever way, that's bashing somebody with a hammer or if it's fixing them soup, that kind of thing. He wants to help. He wants to help and make people comfortable, I guess you could say.
All right.
He's your buddy. I guess one of his, and one of the other questions you asked, like what is, I guess his fear is that he's not able to complete that quest, goal, whatever. And it's almost like an obsessive thing, for him.
Ah, yeah, that is actually definitely an interesting, very interesting direction to go. A lot of times we always have these trying to help maybe a little too much to where it's kindness to a
Right.
Yeah, that's
No, not, he always wants to be the nice guy, but there's that little bit of, I'm not going to say spite, but maybe it's ire he carries around with himself. It's the person, like, he's the one you don't want to be on the bad side because it's one of those, as far as you go this way for kindness and niceness, he can also go that opposite direction as far as just writing you off. He can be pissy and just go that route as well. And deep down, there's a little bit of him that secretly wishes that he could play that role of the bad guy all the time. So he's torn.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Huh. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I can definitely see that playing off really well in this story. It's really cool. I'm really interested to see where this goes. So I'm looking forward to more. All right. Next up, Dakota. What do you got for us?
So, I am going to be playing a Plasmoid, which is just going to be a slime. They're not going to be doing like a lot of transformation stuff, named Ciel, who is currently a fighter as well. We'll see if that stays, if we decide to keep that as a fighter. This slime comes from a world that was literally just slimes. There's no like real civilization, no structure. The world isn't advanced. Think sprawling hills and like mountains and caves, and then just the occasional slime walking around, and the biggest issue they have in life is figuring out what nutrition they're going to take in for the day. And eventually, somehow, something ended up in that world that wasn't supposed to be there. A book that held stories of adventures and heroes. And this little slime found this book and read or absorbed it and read these stories. And now that is a desire, something they want to emulate. Because there wasn't anything, right? This is like the first impression on a world.
Very cool. So you're saying essentially Ciel wants to be an adventurer. Wants
to be a hero, like a fairy tale hero.
Okay. Now
they know nothing.
Yeah. So you say this world is just slimes and such. Do you have folks in this world that you also end up interacting with, or is it just everyone's in this world is pretty much on their own?
My initial thoughts on it are that the slimes are barely sentient, right? Almost like wild beasts. And the only reason this slime is different is because it had something to read, something to latch onto beyond primal instinct.
How does Ciel have any odd reactions from any of the other slimes, or do they barely even notice?
I would think that because they're so primitive, they probably don't notice. But whereas, like, I imagine there's some type of hive, I don't think they're connected to that hive mind anymore.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. That'd be interesting. I think I have an idea for that. Awesome. All right, Mikey, what do you got?
I'm really excited for this one. How much of everything do I share at this point? Because I have his hometown, I have parents, I have a core crisis, I have a lot of things already in my head.
Go ahead and share the basics.
Okay, I'll give.
Essentially, basics of where he's from, where this character's from, who they are. You don't have to go into deep details about relationships and such. And we could talk about all that other stuff later, or you could send it to me in a document or whatever.
Okay, that is fair. Alrighty, so I'm really excited to test out this character. So one of the things that I went into this for me to create this character, I wanted to revisit the very first class that I ever played, which was only like 2.5 years ago, for being transparent here, that when I started being things like that. But I will be playing as Ambrose, an Eladrin cleric who is going to multi-class into a wizard. So I'm really excited. To be more specific, he is a Tempest domain cleric. So Ambrose comes from a little island. I say island, but it's like island in the sky kind of thing. And he comes from this little island called Aire. And essentially what he considers himself a very devout follower, as he is a cleric. But from where he's from, there's kind of two viewpoints on the different dichotomies of magic. If it's of the church, it is of good and holy, but anything learned outside in books and things like that is seen as evil. So very, I don't want to say cultish, but not cultish, but also a little bit cultish. It's always a cult, but
Definitely not a cult.
so essentially, definitely not a cult. So essentially, he started questioning and he wanted to go out into the world and discover the answers to the questions that he has in his life. And so he may or may not have not gotten approval to leave the temple to go on his pilgrimage, so to speak. But Ambrose's big goal for himself for this adventure is to learn more about the world, learn more about the people that live within the world, and formulate his own answer to the question of what defines true good and evil in the world.
So essentially, out there for more like those kind of morality questions.
Oh yeah, he's going very philosophical. He wants to understand how people work, what kinds of decisions they make, what leads to those decisions. He wants to get a viewpoint of the world and not just in his limited scope. So he wants to expand his knowledge whether or not the temple agrees with his sentiment or not.
Okay. So you say may or may not have gotten permission to leave the temple. I'm going to need you to be a little more specific. Did you or did you not get?
No.
I want to hear more about this.
No. So the way that I figured about it is he didn't get express permission, but he just told his bestie that he has there that he was going. And he's like, all right, I can't really cover for you, but I'll do what I can. Yeah, he didn't ask for permission to leave. So he didn't ask for permission. He just did it on a whim.
Cool. Has Ambrose, like, I know Ambrose is out there adventuring on his own and looking for those answers. I'm sorry, what is Ambrose's pronouns?
Oh, Ambrose is he, him.
Okay. What is has he had any run-ins where he's being looked for, and how has those interactions gone, if at all?
So, as far as those kind of interactions go, I think Ambrose is not dumb. He probably knows people are watching him as he goes throughout. However, the severity of the level we can deal with later, but right now Ambrose has not necessarily had face-to-face confrontations with said people, but he can eye from a distance and kind of see people just looking from afar and is, okay, probably shouldn't be staying in this place for too long, so let's get going. And more so not out of the sense of he wants to get caught, but more the sense is I'm just learning about these people. Let's not get them involved in my nonsense real quick.
All right, fair. Never meddle in others' affairs. Interesting. All right, and last but not least, and the first character that I learned about for this campaign, Kilt, go ahead.
Good evening. I wish to introduce to you the dish pit acolyte, Sauté. From the world of fricassee comes forth the Paladin initiate of the Holy Order of the Saints of Flavor, dish pit acolyte Sauté. He is charged with the holy quest of bringing forth to all corners of existence the holy words of the saints, may they ever be in your flavor, and sharing a full table wherever he goes. He's in the service of the Saint of Savory. His goal is to one day become the head chef of the order and bring food and the savory words of the saints to everyone in existence. His trusty chef's knife, the slicer of life, and his favorite cooking tool, the dough cleaver. He travels everywhere he can. May the saints be ever in his flavor. Bird chef.
I love it.
I'm gonna go back to the drawing board.
And Kilt has a peanut gallery.
You do have a peanut gallery, and unfortunately I had to pause them for a second so I could say the next piece. I have been developing this character for as long as I've known Mikey, for at least 3 to 4 years now. The Saints of Flavor was born out of a TikTok collaboration I did with a TikToker by the name of the Hermit Druid, who started doing different TikTokers as D&D characters, as well as also making jokes about this type of holy order. And we developed this a very long time ago, and I've never gotten a chance to play it. And the character's original name was Sous Chef Sauté, because he wasn't like the highest tier of Paladin, but he was higher within the order. And this is his origins.
That's fantastic. That is really awesome. I still remember. So, for folks, when we were looking to cast this show, obviously schedules happen and we need to adjust things around. And I tell Kilt, hey, there might be someone who might not be able to play. Would you want a spot? I immediately get this character sent to me. I haven't even offered him a spot on this show, and I get this character.
Yep.
So I'm very happy to have you here with this character. Couple questions. First, I'm just curious on Sauté's journey, what kind of roadblocks or what kind of, I guess, almost competition has he gotten?
Obviously, within the order, there's always competition amongst different acolytes trying to show off their fame and their flavors and their expertise. He gains experience through that, as well as also hindrances and rivals. And if I were to truly describe this character, the best way to do it is to take Major Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist and somehow throw him into Food Wars, and that's the character. He's just this massive, flamboyant, muscular half-orc who just, everywhere he goes, he's boisterous, he's loud, I'm here to feed you, and just look at my muscles, and just flexing, and just gorgeous man. And he just continues on and just does whatever he can. Now, obviously, he'll get some backlash or some roadblocks with languages and what's the word? My brain just farted on this word. Cultural sensitivities as well as mannerisms. But he does his best anyways, and he still tries to bring forth a full table. I'm going to touch a little bit on his weapons. So the chef's knife, the slicer of life, is a great sword. And his trusty dough cleaver is for those who are familiar with pizza joints, they have those big pizza spatulas. This is a great axe that is a pizza spatula called the dough cleaver. And he has them on his back along with his prayer wheel, which is a giant block of mozzarella. And he also has some vestments. He's decked out usually in chainmail, so he clinks around. He has a little salt and pepper shaker on one side, some other holy herbs and such as well, and as his holy amulet. He's just a great character that I have just gotten so many years to flesh out, and I'm so excited to play this character. It is almost as much fun in my head as playing my other character, Gary the Goblin.
Yeah. Fantastic. I almost actually, just because I've been playing it a lot, I almost envision from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Sanguaro, one of the teachers, the home economics teacher.
Yes.
Who is like this big, bulky guy wearing a pink shirt, and all of his Pokemon are the theme of cute.
Yeah. He likes sweet stuff. Oh, I love it.
He likes sweets. His entire Pokemon team is all cute Pokemon. It's fantastic.
So, Sauté's mentor is actually a confectioner of the Saint of Sweet. who is like that. They're big, they're bulky, they have just sweet and cute things everywhere, and that's his mentor. But he is of the savory side, so he's a lot more meaty, more rich aromas, and just earthy and just deliciousness of that side. So it's like literally the complete opposite. But yes,
Do you think slimes can taste?
they will.
They will.
They will now.
Oh my god! And also, you just reminded me I need to finish watching Food Wars.
Such a good series. It made me want to go back to culinary.
It made me want to start culinary school.
Everything through the 3rd season was great. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, damn.
Anywho, no, that's really fantastic. I'm really excited to see this character come to life in this series. So, to wrap up things, I do have one last question for each of you. And I want to think you to think less about your characters and more about the world they are from. Because unlike the other adventurers that come through Crystal City, the 4 of you, as well as your 2 other party mates that will be joining us, are all residents of the Crystal City. So, I'm going to start with you, Mikey. I don't want you to give me details of what happened or where you were or that kind of stuff, but I need to ask, how did your world end?
Now, when we're talking about world ending, like I can no longer go back there, it's completely destroyed. Are we talking like Kingdom Hearts level of like the darkness ate the whole entire thing?
During your time in the Crystal City at this point in time, to your knowledge, your world was completely destroyed and there's no way to go back. You were somehow magically yanked out of the world milliseconds before it ceased to exist.
So, one thing that Ambrose has wanted to prevent as best as he could is because there's such opposition from where he was from between the duality between the church and just the academic sides of magic always being at odds with each other. He came from a city of scholars, but of course, as with real life, there are different topics and subjects that one can investigate and spend their time in and to learn about. But there was always this underlying tension between the academic scholars and the religious scholars that were always at odds with one another. But then you take that and you amplify it to a grander scale. I think the way that Ambrose's world ended up ending was it imploded on itself through basically a magic civil war, so to speak, between the academics and the religious folks. It was no longer about having debates and seminars and forums and things like that. It turned into an unbridled animosity towards each other, where it just imploded and a full-scale civil war ended up happening out of it. And I think both sides attempted to try to one-up the other, and it just kept going and going until both sides reached an ultimatum, tried to destroy the other in one fell swoop. But like most things, it backfired, leaving the world completely destroyed in the process.
Awesome. All right. Dakota, you're next.
Oh, shit.
How did your world end?
So I think, right, this primal world almost, I think it would have ended by, it's not known how the slimes reproduce, but the slimes do reproduce. They aren't sentient enough to continually develop the world, and there are a limited number of resources. They ate the world to death until there was nothing left, and they slowly died out. There's nothing left. It's a barren hellscape.
Interesting. Okay. No, that works. That definitely works. That's actually really cool. That's actually in my head when you sent me your idea. That was actually what was coming to my mind. So, nice.
It's a very good question. And I think along the lines of what Mikey both were saying, that there was a struggle, I guess, between the core of the Scribes society, and as dwarves often do sometimes. So they tend to be obstinate a little bit, And I think they basically just overextended with the fun. They, not to steal from you, but it was not that they consumed all of everything there, but it was just the fact that they maybe messed where they shouldn't have and maybe opened up some things that they shouldn't have had access to beforehand, and it just got real bad, which I think is where part of Steve's journey to help comes from, because he was witness to all this. He saw just constantly the struggle and the suffering of everybody that just kind of winked out. And there he is, trying to find his place in and make sense of what was going on in his ring.
Incoming transmit.
Sorry.
All right.
That was well timed.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to turn off my incoming message.
All good. All right. Kilt. Big question. How did Sauté's world end?
Three things that just popped into my head. It burned.
Yep.
The world of Fricassee burned. There was a rival order that wished to control all of the flavors within the world and keep it for themselves. Obviously, Sauté's order, the holy order of the Saints of Flavor, wished to share that amongst everybody. And the head chef of Flavortown joined them in this battle. And unfortunately, the world burned to a crisp. You could say it got really dark and charcoaled.
I feel like all of these worlds have just turned into like massive black spheres just floating. They're now just asteroids in space.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, hey, that works. It definitely works. But cool. Yeah, you are all of the Crystal City now, because to become a resident of the Crystal City is to have your world lost before its time. So before universes and worlds die all the time, but there are times when things happen when they're not supposed to, kind of off the route of fate. When this happens, whatever being, whatever higher power it is, feels that the residents of that world deserve a second chance. And they are brought here to the Crystal City. When you arrived, there was a home ready for you of your own design. You even had a job of your own. In fact, you had your choice of jobs, believe it or not. And you, at this point, have lived in the Crystal City, I am going to say, for about 6 months at this point.
Oh, good.
It's not recent enough that you're still shell-shocked by what happened.
I was just hoping I had some excuse to have a modicum of people skills.
Oh yeah. No, you've had enough time to where you've been able to, like, I guess, to quote unquote get over what happened, but it's not so far away that you have completely forgotten about what happened, or it doesn't still mildly affect you at times. So, something to keep in mind about your characters as we progress into Session 1. And in Session 1, you'll get to see the rest of the land where you are at, and you'll get to meet the high mages of the land. I forgot to mention that before. In the middle of the city, there is this very large crystal skyscraper. And at the very top is the high mages, the 4 high mages. And you can almost think of them as the president council, executive council of the city. And you will get to you'll be introduced to all 4 of them soon enough at Session 1. So, I know this feels like a bit of a quick one, but we still have 2 more characters to introduce you to. And they will, once I can get a hold of them and get that all recorded. So, To the four of you, thank you so much for joining me. This is fun. I can't wait to see all of your characters. I'm so excited. And for those of you listening or watching, stay tuned. We'll be right back with our other two characters here shortly. But until then, see you next time. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Crystal City, a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actual play podcast. Riku is here back, and I am here with our next player, who happened to be able to join us. And let's get into introducing you to him. So, Josh, if you'd like to introduce yourself, where folks can find you, and just a little about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Josh. Folks can find me on YouTube and Patreon at The Questing Cast, which is a project that is not published yet, so you're not going to find anything fun yet. But hopefully soon you'll be able to see our campaign, which is a Savage Worlds 1920s, like, gangster vibe thing that we're doing, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, my background, I'm a big old nerd, big science nerd, and been doing improv for years and years, and DMing for years, and playing 5th edition a ton. So really excited to get onto someone else's project where I don't have to do all the planning, all the work. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this a lot. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah. When you meet Mikey, who is the mad lad behind all of this, who ran 5 games last season and running 4 more this season. He's insane. So,
mad genius.
Listen, I bow down to him. And his endurance to be able to do this. But he's really appreciative that I'm running this one and he's not. Anywho, so as I explained to the other players, a little bit of background, I'll give you some of that. I'll let our editors cut this out or not if they want to, but I'll give you a bit of the background.
Editors, yeah, I gotta get some of that.
Oh, we started recruiting an entire editing team now. In fact, Dakota, who's one of the players in this campaign, is actually going to be our video editor for us, which is awesome. So he actually is in the campaign. He knows what's going on. He knows what to do. So, except that he's getting this as a surprise.
Good. I'll just reach over and grab a bag of chips and start.
Hey, listen, during the campaign, during sessions, everyone will tell you, I'm normally eating dinner during it, normally like mac and cheese or something. I'm sure that they have plenty of that for me.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, as a background for the campaign, everyone who is playing is from essentially a different world, a different universe, all of which are connected by this place called the Crystal City. It is essentially the world between worlds where the multiverse kind of converges. Adventures tend to happen upon it many times, but there are residents of the Crystal City. It's just that no one really knows how to actually become residents. You will find out shortly, as your character will be a resident. But before we get into that, we gotta know a little bit about more of your character and where they're originally from. Goa, why don't you introduce us to what you have so far? I might have a few questions about their background and such, but let's just dive into what kind of concept you have.
All right, so I worked on this a lot today during my very slow day at work, and I was thinking, I've even gotten an idea on how they get to the Crystal City, but this is totally just scratch, so we can change it if you have other ideas. But I am thinking of playing Kythera, a Warforged, who is a sorcerer, a Clockwork sorcerer. And they are from a place where they do not have other, like, organic, sentient beings. So Kythera originates in a plane or a world that's, like, solely inhabited by this artificial intelligence that, like, all these artificial intelligence come together, interact, and form this, like, hive mind, basically. They live in the cyberspace or whatever. Very cyberpunk, but also, like, sci-fi. And this hive mind entity is called Elysium. And what was there before? Who created the hive mind? Like, I didn't figure that out. I don't know. Maybe it's a mystery. Maybe it's been forgotten, or it's suppressed because the hive mind is evil, or whatever. But at some point, this Elysium learns about my thought was some point Elysium learns about the Crystal City and then, like, generates Kythera, and I was thinking 2 other sort of manifestations, drones, whatever you want to call them, but they have an independent personality and like they have their own existence, and sends them to the Crystal City to start figure this thing out. What are these organics? What is this world that is so foreign and different? And then my further idea was that at some point, pretty early on in this mission, these three entities, these three Warforged, lose contact with Elysium. And then they have to figure out, what do we do now? And Kythera is, we should just continue doing the mission. Let's just keep like observing and learning and sending reports, even if we know that they're not going anywhere and we can't get home or whatever. I'm just here to explore and learn and figure out what this world is about. But the other two, I think, have very different like views of the organics, and they split up and go off on their own ways. So I can give you those, like, what my view those other two characters as. It's up to you whether you ever want to use them. That's my thought process here, and I know I got into it without knowing very much about the Crystal City.
And to be honest, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but your concept actually fits really well with the story I have in mind. Yeah. When you eventually lost contact with Elysium, what did it feel like? Was it just was it like almost like a static lose, like you just went out into the woods and lost cell reception, or was it just it's gone? I don't
think they were really like plugged in a Borg, like they have a constant connection. I think they were out here in the field gathering research. Maybe when they were disconnected from Elysium and put into an individual body, that's probably what it felt like losing your connection with the Borg. But once they were out there, they were just like, we're sending in our weekly report, and then nobody answered. And then they were like, hey, is anybody there? And nobody answered. And then they were like, whatever technology they used to get there, I don't know, what it was, teleportation, whatever. Like, they're like, let's try and beam home, and it didn't work. And so they're just stuck there.
Okay. Yeah, and I think your character, out of everybody else, and I'll go into this a little detail, but out of everybody else, I think you're gonna be the character that has the most familiarity with the Crystal City. I see them being one of the adventurers that have passed through and have witnessed this seemingly fairy tale land and talks about, but no one believes it's real unless they see it.
But there's still, I think because they're such a foreign entity, everything, even though maybe they've seen it once or twice before, like, I do not understand. They're like, Data, what does it mean to be human?
And what makes it interesting is that these travelers who come to this world, to the Crystal City, are from multiple different multiverses, so cultures, so different, the types of people, races, everything is so different that it's probably like almost information overload. One thing ends up contradicting the other. Yeah. And just trying to make sense of it all.
So to try to make sense of it all, Kythera has, like, and again, I don't know how long they've been out of contact, and it could be a week, it could be a year, it could be longer, I don't know. I'll work with you on that. But they have been working as a private investigator because it allows them to probe into and understand the more secrets and the inner lives of people in this society, and kind of continue the mission they think they're doing. But maybe they also just think it's fun. Maybe that's not something they would confess to the other two drones, but they would, this is actually kind of great.
Yeah. Oh, cool. No, I really like that. I really like that idea. I think it fits well in. One thing that you'll all learn about the Crystal City is, at this point in the timeline, you would know about this. The Crystal City kind of has a high council of mages, one of which is also a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. It's actually a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer, an Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, a Graviturgy Wizard, and a Chronoturgy Wizard.
Oh, he's doing way more multi-classing than I can handle.
No, so it's basically the Mage of Time, Mage of Space, Mage of Matter, Mage of Mind.
That's a Star Trek reference here, but
I know. So, well, it's 4 different people. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So it's like a council of mages who essentially oversee the city. So I see your character eventually having some kind of connection to them, since you are a Clockwork soul sorcerer yourself. And that also gives you a much higher insight into the city as well. So I think you still could go that private investigator route, but I think you may have met them a lot sooner than anyone really does.
I think if I met them, it was through my 2 companions.
Okay.
Because I think they're the ambitious ones, the ones who are like seeking power or are interested in the idea of power and maybe over whatever. Whereas I'm more interested in the minutia of life, but I can totally see a mission, like early on, like we all went together and introduced ourselves or however interacted with the power structure. And then once connection got lost, I was like, I'm more interested in finding cats in trees. Why is this medallion so important to you? I'm going to go look for it.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Awesome. Probably the biggest question. So I was talking a lot with the other players and having them think about their homeworlds and where they're from. The biggest question that I gave each of them was this: how did your world end? And the reason I asked that, and it fit really well with losing contact with Elysium, because in order to become a resident of the Crystal City, that is where beings who lost their worlds before they were supposed to end up.
Got it.
So I could see, while you are, like, whether you're staying at one of the hotels there or just traveling through, all of a sudden you find yourself with a key to a home there in the Crystal City. You are now a resident. That's like, you were there when it happened. Like, you just lost that contact. You didn't get transported there. It just happened.
So, do you want me, Josh, to give you theories about what happened? Or do you want... Because what I think the mystery of... Like, the big mystery for Kythera is what did happen to Elite. And
that's...
but I can give you my theories as the creator of Kythera, but I almost want to give you permission to have your own, like, fiat over that.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, and I just thought, you know what? Maybe we don't want to know. Maybe we don't want to know just yet. Maybe that is part of your character's story of slowly discovering what actually happened and how things happened. So I think that actually is a pretty fun angle to go off of, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure Kythera will come up with ideas, shoot them to the other party members as we find little clues and things about what happened to other civilizations. Yeah, I think that could be a good, like, raid Detra to, like, because he's an investigator.
Yeah,
they're an investigator. I think I want them to be they, them pronouns, because robots... What? Gender?
What is gender? No, I like that. I like that a lot. Awesome. No, that's really cool. I am very intrigued by this. We have such a interesting, eclectic group of folks. We have a slime that comes from a world of just slimes. We have a half-orc that is looking to become the greatest chef, who's a paladin of the Order of Flavors. It's really cool. We have someone who's left their faith, who has seen things is very much like more than just what they've been taught. It's a very interesting group. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially seeing all of you mixed together. I was hoping for such a diverse group of characters that this is going to be a fun campaign.
Is there any plan to have any of the characters, do they know each other before session 1, or are we all going to be, I don't want spoilers at all, but sometimes DMs want your characters to have some connection.
Yeah. So I am thinking,
and that would be hard to do for me, particularly because I'm not being with them.
Like I said, we do have one more player to go through this, and I want to see where he goes with his character too. And then after that, over the next couple days, I'll probably reach out to you all and be like, so how does this sound for a familial connection for you all. I want you all to have some sort of familiarity, whether it's just baseline, your neighbors or something like that, or a more your investigative party at the start. I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I want to see where this last character lands and go from there.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Before I get into the nuts and bolts of writing or adventure planning, I'm like, I need to know your characters.
Yes. Last question I have for you, and this is more of a housekeeping thing. Do you want the red notebook or the orange notebook?
Ooh.
This has nothing to do with the game. It's in Discord.
Right. Oh, it has nothing to do with the game. I thought it was like,
oh no, so
here's
you
an
each
item that might do a
no. You each have your own private notebook in the Discord to write in, and they're just color coded for each of you. I just need to know which one to assign to you.
I'll take red.
All right. Yeah. I'll go ahead and get that set up for you here in a bit. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I love your character. I love to see what they come up with. Do you have any other questions or any other thoughts that you wanted to bring up before we wrap things up?
My only one thought is I know sorcerers do not get familiars very easily. Do all kinds of multi-classing to have that happen. But I really want like a weird little robot orb. Like almost the guy from, is it not BioShock? The one that's future space punk and you have to go fight your way to the vault and you have the little robot.
Oh, Destiny, from Destiny. I know what you're talking. The ghost.
I'm not talking about but that is also a Halo thing for sure. Yeah, a little robot companion at some point. That's just a wish list thing.
Yeah, let me think about that a bit.
Yeah, they don't have to do anything.
Cool. Awesome. It has been really great to hear more about your character. I'm really excited to get a chance to play with you. We love bringing in especially new faces into this group. I know you're going to love everybody else. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for us. When we come back, we'll have our final player, Casey, with a little bit of a special version of the Session Zero with him, because this weekend I'm actually going down to Chicago, and he's actually a good friend of mine, and I'm actually staying with him. So we're actually going to be doing our Session Zero live and in person.
Wow.
Gonna break out the iPhone camera and see how that works out, so that should be fun.
But I got a little bit of a Midwest thing from you.
Yeah,
or East Coast at least.
So funny enough,
east of the Rocky Mountains.
So I currently live in Wisconsin, in Madison, Wisconsin, but I'm originally from New York City. So not like exactly that.
All right.
Cool. Thank you all for listening. Stay tuned for part 3, and we'll catch you all next time. See you later.
Thank you for tuning into another Vibe Tribe production. We really are glad you're here. We're gonna have to come back next time to see how the adventure unfolds. But until then, take care of yourself, remember to love yourself, and make sure that whatever you do, you keep those good times rolling. We'll catch you next time.